We're going to continue with Alma chapter 20.
And it came to pass that when they had established a church in that land, that King Lamoni desired that Ammon should go with him to the land of Nephi, that he might show him unto his father. And the voice of the Lord came to Ammon, saying, Thou shalt not go up to the land of Nephi, for behold, the king will seek thy life. But thou shalt go to the land of Middoni, for behold, thy brother Aaron, and also Mulukai and Alma are in prison. Now it came to pass that when Ammon had heard this, he said unto Lamoni, Behold, my brother and brethren are in prison at Middoni, and I go that I may deliver them.
In an earlier chapter, Lamoni referred to his father. Father was the big king, right? And so I guess they had it arranged where he was the king of all the Lamanites in this area, the whole land of Nephi, and then the individual cities. They had a king for each individual city. So King Lamoni was one of the kings of the smaller area, and his father was the big king over the whole thing, right? And you may remember that Lamoni had been invited to go to a feast that his father had scheduled, but he didn't go because he stayed to talk to Ammon, and then the whole thing with passing out for 2 days and so forth. So therefore he already missed this feast that he was supposed to go to represent, I guess, his city. So anyway, now that he's been converted, and says now that they established a church and he's been converted, well now he's saying, hey, I should bring my new friend here, Ammon, to meet my father. Okay, but in his perhaps innocence at this point, thinking his father's going to be all excited about this new friend he's made, realizing his father's not going to like this idea at all, right? And so that's why he says that Ammon heard the voice of the Lord saying, no, not a good idea. All right, don't go to the land of Nephi because his father's going to try to kill you. So that's not where I want you to go. Instead, really, I have another mission for you. It's nice how the Lord speaks to Ammon and kind of directs him. All right, that he says he tells him even in detail, your brother and some of the other people with him are in prison in this other town. So I want you to go there and help to deliver them. All right, so when he hears that message, so he speaks to Lamoni. He says, well, let's not go meet your father right now. Let's go over here because my brother's in prison. I need to deliver him. All right, so he's got more direction from God as to what to do, and so now he's going to follow the direction of God.
Now Lamoni said unto Ammon, I know in the strength of the Lord thou canst do all things. But behold, I will go with thee to the land of Middoni, for the king of the land of Middoni, whose name is Antiamno, is a friend unto me. Therefore I go to the land of Middoni, that I may flatter the king of the land, and he will cast thy brethren out of prison. Now Lamoni said unto him, Who told thee that thy brethren were in prison? And Ammon said unto him, No one hath told me, save it be God. And he said unto me, Go and deliver thy brethren, for they are in prison in the land of Middoni. Now when Lamoni had heard this, he caused that his servants should make ready his horses and his chariots. And he said unto Ammon, Come, I will go with thee down to the land of Middoni, and there I will plead with the king, that he will cast thy brethren out of prison.
Upon telling Lamoni the plan here, that we need to go to Middoni because my brother is in prison, and so what does the king ask him? Who told you that? How could you possibly know that? Right, that your brother is in prison in this other city. So of course he tells him, well, I didn't hear from anybody, but God told me that this is the case, so that's why I need to go. So the king, of course, now believing in God, since he's been converted, so he's willing to go along with that. And it even says, hey, he says that the king over there is a friend of mine. Or so I guess this Antiamno is the king of that particular city. So again, one of the smaller kings, if you will. So he's the king of that area. He says, yeah, I thought he's a friend of mine. So if I go and ask him as a favor to me, he'll probably let your brother out. Okay, so that was the plan. So. But to me, the key part is that the king is now willing to go with this based on Ammon saying that God told him that this was what was going on, this had to be done. So you can see he is a believer at this point, because otherwise, if you say, well, I mean, why should I get all the horses and chariots, everything ready to go over there just because you told me you think your brother is in prison, and then we'll go there and your brother isn't even in that city, or something. So, but he believed in what Alma was saying, and he believed in God, so he believed that God could give this kind of a message. And of course, we know, because we're reading, that was really what the case, and that was an accurate message. All right, so he saddled up the horses, the chariots, and he's all ready to go here.
And it came to pass that as Ammon and Lamoni were journeying thither, they met the father of Lamoni, who was king over all the land. And behold, the father of Lamoni said unto him, Why did ye not come to the feast on that great day when I made a feast unto my sons and unto my people? And he also said, Whither art thou going with this Nephite, who was one of the children of a liar? And it came to pass that Lamoni rehearsed unto him whither he was going, for he feared to offend him. And he also told him all the cause of his tarrying in his own kingdom, that he did not go unto his father to the feast which he had prepared.
As they're on their way to Middoni to spring Aaron from prison, they meet, of all people, they meet the father of Lamoni, right? The big king, the guy that they weren't supposed to go see in the land of Nephi, right? So he's there on the road, and so you don't want to hear the music, dum dum dum, So they come across him, and sure enough, the father of Lamoni not necessarily happy with his son at this point, because, as I mentioned earlier, he had already blown off his feast from the week before, or whatever it was, that he was expecting him to appear there, and he wasn't there, so he wasn't happy with him. And now he sees him with this Nephite, which again he can tell he's different, because he obviously appears different than everybody else in the town. So he says, okay, what's going on here? You blow off my feast, and now you're hanging out with this Nephite. I don't see him in ropes or chains, right? He's riding on your horse, right? So what's going on here, right? It doesn't look right to me as the big king. And so of course then it says, Lamoni explains to him what's going on, right? He says where they're going, and he tells him what happened. He tries to explain to him, and then try and picture his father hearing this. This guy Ammon, he came and preached about Christ to me, and then I had an experience, and then I was caught up in the Spirit, and I was unconscious for 2 days, and when I woke up, I believed that Jesus is the Christ, is the Redeemer, and he's probably expecting his father to embrace him and be happy, and right, but clearly his father's thinking, this guy's out of his mind now, right? And here this Nephite has done something to my son, and now I'm really not happy with him. Because he's hearing this story is not what he's wanting to hear, and certainly not a valid excuse to him as to why Lamoni didn't come to his feast.
And now when Lamoni had rehearsed unto him all these things, behold, to his astonishment his father was angry with him, and said, Lamoni, thou art going to deliver these Nephites, who are sons of a liar. Behold, he robbed our fathers, and now his children are also come amongst us, that they may, by their cunning and their lyings, deceive us, that they again may rob us of our property. Now the father of Lamoni commanded him that he should slay Ammon with the sword, and he also commanded him that he should not go to the land of Middoni, but that he should return with him to the land of Ishmael. But Lamoni said unto him, I will not slay Ammon, neither will I return to the land of Ishmael, but I go to the land of Middoni, that I may release the brethren of Ammon, for I know that they are just men and holy prophets of the true God.
He's a big king, and we keep calling him that because he doesn't have a name, right? That the big king, he hears the story, and needless to say, he's not jumping up and down with joy that his son's been converted, so to speak. And so rather he hears this, and you can just almost picture him hearing this and going, wait, let me get this straight, all right? You didn't come to my feast. You're hanging out with a Nephite, and you're going to this town to free more Nephites who are in prison there. What's wrong with this picture, right? What's gotten into you here? So he's, needless to say, not happy with him, and recalling the history that they always recall says, because they believe that from the beginning that the Laman and Lemuel side of the family was cheated by the Nephite side of the family, and that they lied to us from way back at the beginning, and now these are the children and the children of all the original ones who lied to us, and they're just continuing their lying and deceit, and you're believing it, you're playing into it, and you're going to go free them. What's the matter with you? Here's what I want you to do. I want you to kill this guy right now, right? And then you're not going to that town to free them. Let them stay in prison, and you're coming with me to the land of Ishmael, right? So upon, now again, this is the big king, right? So he gives, if you will, an order to his son, who was the king of the smaller area, but Lamoni has been converted, so he's not buying it. says, no, I'm not killing him, and no, I'm not coming with you, and I am going to the other town to free the Nephites, because that's what I'm doing, whether you like it or not, right? So he's standing up to his father, who may or may not have ever seen him act this way, but you can see that with the Spirit of God within him, right? He's not going to go against God. So no matter what happens.
Now when his father had heard these words, he was angry with him, and he drew his sword, that he might smite him to the earth. But Ammon stood forth and said unto him, Behold, thou shalt not slay thy son. Nevertheless it were better that he should fall than thee, for behold, he has repented of his sins. But if thou shouldst fall at this time, in thine anger thy soul could not be saved. And again it is expedient that thou shouldst forbear, for if thou shouldst slay thy son, he being an innocent man, his blood would cry from the ground to the Lord his God, for vengeance to come upon thee, and perhaps thou wouldst lose thy soul.
So, as you would probably expect, the big king was pretty angry at these words, because I'm sure he's used to having his orders carried out, and not to not have the other king say, no, I'm not going to do what you say, right? So, as you might expect, he took out his sword ready to kill his own son, right? Because he's being disobedient and not listening to orders, insubordinate. I guess that was what I was looking for. That he wasn't going to do what the big king told him to do. All right, but as you can see, it says Ammon kind of stepped between them and said, "No, I don't think you're going to do that." Right, and now he says, not even statement. He says it would be better for him to fall than for you, though. It would be better for your son to be killed than for you. If your son dies today, we know where he's going. Okay, he's going to paradise. If you die today, I don't think you're going to paradise. All right, so really, if one had to die, it would be just as well for your son to die because his soul is ready to go. But nonetheless, no, you're not killing your son today. And if you do, it says, and now of course then you have his innocent blood on your hands, and that's even further evidence that you're not going to be going to where your son's going to go when he dies. Okay, so he says, so for the sake of his son, but also even for the sake of you, no, you're not going to do this to him today.
Now when Ammon had said these words unto him, he answered him, saying, I know that if I should slay my son, that I should shed innocent blood, for it is thou that hast sought to destroy him. And he stretched forth his hand to slay Ammon, but Ammon withstood his blows, and also smote his arm, that he could not use it. Now when the king saw that Ammon could slay him, he began to plead with Ammon that he would spare his life.
Upon hearing Ammon speak up, so the king turns on him then, says, that's right, my son's innocent, you're the one who poisoned his mind, you're the one who's the cause of this, so instead of killing him, I'll kill you. Right? And so he turns to kill him, but he obviously hasn't been reading the earlier chapters, right? This is the wrong guy to go after, so right, because the protection of God is on him. So as he tries to do it, it says Ammon withstood his blows and basically put his arm out of commission somehow. I don't know if he broke his arm or injured his arm some way that now he can't swing with the sword anymore. So now basically he's helpless. So if you're in a sword fight and you can't use your arm, well, you're not going to do too well in this kind of fight. So now he's kind of helpless. So now it all turns around. So he began to plead with Ammon that he would spare his life, because realizing that now he could kill him very easily because his arm is out of commission now.
But Ammon raised his sword and said unto him, Behold, I will smite thee, except thou wilt grant unto me that my brethren may be cast out of prison. Now the king, fearing he should lose his life, said, If thou wilt spare me, I will grant unto thee whatsoever thou wilt ask, even to half of the kingdom. Now when Ammon saw that he had wrought upon the old king according to his desire, he said unto him, If thou wilt grant that my brethren may be cast out of prison, and also that Lamoni may retain his kingdom, and that ye be not displeased with him, but grant that he may do according to his own desires, in whatsoever thing he thinketh, then will I spare thee, otherwise I will smite thee to the earth.
The king, upon being in a helpless situation now, so he's ready to be more reasonable in negotiating here for his own life, and so he basically says to Ammon, if you don't kill me, then I'll make sure your brethren get released from prison, and tell me whatever you want. Tell me whatever you want, basically, because obviously if you kill me, then I lose everything. So I'm happy to give you whatever you want. They say up to half of the kingdom, right? So I'll give you whatever you want if you spare my life. So what did Ammon ask for? Basically, I just the two conditions. Okay, one, I want my brothers out of jail, and two, right? Don't kill your son, but to let him keep his kingdom and let him do it the way he feels to do it, right? Because it'd be one thing to say, well, he wouldn't kill him, but then he's going to still put his thumb on him to force him not to run it in a godly way. But right, he wants him to be able to continue to serve God and recognize the church and so forth. So let him run it in his own way. So that was his conditions.
Now when Ammon had said these words, the king began to rejoice because of his life. And when he saw that Ammon had no desire to destroy him, and when he also saw the great love he had for his son Lamoni, he was astonished exceedingly, and said, Because this is all that thou hast desired, that I would release thy brethren, and suffer that my son Lamoni should retain his kingdom, behold, I will grant unto you that my son may retain his kingdom from this time and forever, and I will govern him no more. And I will also grant unto thee that thy brethren may be cast out of prison, and thou and thy brethren may come unto me in my kingdom, for I shall greatly desire to see thee. For the king was greatly astonished at the words which he had spoken, and also at the words which had been spoken by his son Lamoni. Therefore he was desirous to learn them.
What was the king's reaction to the terms? Sounds good to me, right? Sounds good to me. I offered you up to half the kingdom, and this would have been half of the big kingdom, by the way. Remember, this was the big king, so he offered him up half the kingdom, and I don't want half the kingdom. I only want these simple things, that my brethren be set free, and that your son be allowed to keep his kingdom. And so he was impressed that was all he was asking for. So certainly he was happy to grant that, and also impressed that Ammon and Lamoni had this relationship that he says Ammon loved his son and was willing to just ask for that in exchange for the king's life. So as a result, he was willing to grant that. So he's okay. Yep, I'm going to get your brother's out of prison. I'm going to let my son keep his kingdom. He can run it the way he wants. And also, when this is all over, when you're done going to free your brothers, come see me at my kingdom. Let's talk more about what's happened to you. Well, let's talk more about this idea of a son of God and what's now changed with my son, because I'm interested in what he's saying and hearing the words he's saying. He's talking differently now. So I'd like to hear more about this when your trip is done here. So he says, okay, come see me at the palace, and we'll talk more.
And it came to pass that Ammon and Lamoni proceeded on their journey towards the land of Madoni, and Lamoni found favor in the eyes of the king of the land. Therefore the brethren of Ammon were brought forth out of prison. And when Ammon did meet them, he was exceeding sorrowful, for behold, they were naked, and their skins were worn exceedingly because of being bound with strong cords. And they also had suffered hunger, thirst, and all kinds of afflictions. Nevertheless they were patient in all their sufferings. And as it happened, it was their lot to have fallen into the hands of a more hardened and a more stiff-necked people. Therefore they would not hearken unto their words, and they had cast them out, and had smitten them, and had driven them from house to house, and from place to place, even until they had arrived in the land of Madoni. And there they were taken and cast into prison, and bound with strong cords, and kept in prison for many days, and were delivered by Lamoni and Ammon.
Right, so when they continued on to their destination in the land of Madoni, and they found their brother was really not in good physical condition at this point, as they had been in prison for some number of days and been treated very badly by the Lamanites in that city, but yet they were able to have them released from prison, which was the main thing that they went for. And as you see in 30, it says that as it happened, it says it was this group's lot to wind up in a city where the people were not very open. It says they were hardened and the more stiff-necked people, they wouldn't listen to their words. See, really in comparison, Ammon had wound up with the better assignment, right? Because he went to Lamoni and his people, and they were on the whole pretty open to what he had to say. But this particular city was not as open, so that's why they wound up naked and tied up and in prison and so forth, right? Because they didn't get as good of a reaction from the people. Right, chapters 21 to 26 are going to tell that story. See, so I point that out because these are overlapping time frames. Okay, so we've just read the last few chapters, told the story of Ammon in the Lamoni city, but now at the same time as that, Aaron was in this other city doing what he was doing, and so in 21 to 26 now we'll go back and hear his story that will lead up to him being in prison, and then those stories will come together with this when Ammon and Lamoni arrive to get them out of prison.